Hey, good morning. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I'm about to start my day's work on my office desk. I thought I'd show you what we managed to do yesterday. I really had hoped that I would have the entire day yesterday, but then someone came and you will have seen the videos about the people that needed some help, well, needed some promotion on selling a piece of land. And it would mean a huge thing for those people in their lives if they could do that. So we went along and we did a video and we posted it. It's nothing to do with us, by the way. We're not really into answering detailed questions about how many hectares or whether it goes from this coconut tree to that bent branch. We put the post up and we've given you the name and the phone number, so please take advantage of that and make use of that. But back to my day's work, and I really wanted to spend a tiny bit of time talking about safety. I know that will be the most boring thing in the entire universe for most people, but if, as I think, some of the things that I've been showing you are of interest and you decide that perhaps you could try some of these things. I'm talking about very simple carpentry, okay? I'm not talking about, as someone's now picking up the joke on my saying it's not Chippendale. Chippendale was a maker of fine furniture a few hundred years ago. So I'll give you a look now at where I got yesterday. I was one short of one decorative panel. As you can see, those raised panels are simply made of plywood, and once you get them filled on the edges so that they blend in with the actual piece, then it looks good. And it's a cheap way of raising a panel when you don't have the tools, okay? So the back of this is to the wall, so I'm not going to, I doubt that I will bother putting a decorative panel on that, but who knows. these things change. So I'll give you a look at the other side. This is the side that Beth will sit at, obviously, and then as you come around, you'll see that she has some storage there. She has some deeper storage that's under there for bigger items, possibly, as I've said before, possibly a I don't know, a computer tower, something like that. These are fairly standard shelves here. And there's some other extended cabinet space there. And then we come around. This panel is only pinned. As you can see, it's just pinned in there to make sure that it fits. Now I'll have to go back and make sure that that panel goes up and behind and into the desktop itself, which actually, even though the desktop looks like it's almost 2 inches, it's actually only 3/4 for this part. Well, 3/4 plus what Filipinos call a 1/4 inch. Looks more like an 1/8 of an inch to me, but that's what they call quarter ply, and that's on top as well. So none of these are all lined up. That will only happen, I will make sure that everything fits, of course, but actually fitting it all together comes when we install it into the office. So what have we got? We've got the top is 1, end cabinet 2, center panel 3, and 2 cabinets here make 5 pieces, and they're all separate and they all go together. This I put on, I like to do this, it makes for a nicer desktop, and well, it's all rough. There's no excuses being made where as we go forward and try to improve the paint, which I'd like it to be darker than this, and then I might do something with the panels. I'll put a little motif on there that I've used in the house, which I liked, and which made it look as if it was something of a manufactured piece. I'm suffering the artist's what can I say? I'm living with a family of hilltop farmers, and they are purely practical. Everything is purely practical. And when I arrived back yesterday, after needing to go out and buy this one piece here of trim, which I know that I need, and they looked at that and they were all laughing, and I asked them, well, I asked Beth, what are they laughing at? She says, well, they're laughing because they're looking at the desk that's taken too long to make, it's cost too much money, and you could have just gone out and bought a desk. It would have been so easy to just go out and buy a desk. So they're not looking at at my wonderful turd that I'm in the process of polishing right now. They're just looking at pure practicality, and who can blame them for that? But that's it there. Here's a piece that I'm about to mark up so that I can put this panel in here, and then who knows, I may use some of this offcuts now and make two small decorative panels to go in there. And then I'm going to do some other work, and I'll show you how I've been able in the past to make something a little bit special with very simple tools. And that's what the exercise has been all along. And now I would like, as I said, I would like to talk about safety. Now, the two most important safety things, pieces of safety equipment, are the ones that are least enjoyed by professionals. Professionals who've suffered an injury will end up loving these, but they're not easy to wear because they steam up and they're hot on the face, but they're very important. When I was building the house, which was all made of metal stud, I used a drill constantly into metal, and in the end it was inevitable that I would get a couple of bits, tiny little bits of metal in my eye. It was agony. It was something I would not like to repeat. So now I do believe, especially, well, with metal, absolutely I have to have goggles. Now when you're using this lethal piece of machinery, you should also wear goggles, and with this it's advisable to wear a mask. Now I haven't actually got a mask, so I'm doing without, but there's something that I'd like you to see about this. Now remember what I said, that the blade is always moving, so even when you've got it unplugged, before you touch that thing, you have a look and you make sure there it is. But even then, you don't accept the evidence of your own eyes, and you tug on this end, you tug on this end, and you tug on that end, and you make sure it's not plugged in. Now there's a little attachment on this which people tend not to use. This obviously is the guide, or the guard. This is the guard, and that is one thing that you need to learn how to use. It's difficult sometimes if that guard is here. As it progresses into cutting the material, this can jam up and it can make it a little bit difficult to use. So you'll find that most carpenters have got their finger on this and they lift it so the entry into the material is made easy. And then gradually it will, as the blade starts cutting and is not in threatening you with any loss of limbs, it will go up there. Now this little thing here what this is for. It's a tiny little thing, and if you look here, you'll see that it comes, and what it does is it takes the blade so that it's not full. So I'm gonna take it off. Gosh, I got that on hard. There we go. So we undo that. Now this can now go up and down. So here's my thought on cutting material. Have a look at the material that you're going to cut. How thick is it? And how far down is the blade? Now this is where the blade is going to be put down to. Alright, so let's take that out of the way and put this on here. Right, so now you can see that that blade, because I've released it, is going to go down about 3/4 to an inch. Okay, that's the cut. Now I'm only cutting this 1/4 inch. Well, it's not, as I said, it's not 1/4 inch. I don't need to be down nearly an inch, and what it means is that that can cut underlying material, and you can end up cutting your bench in half. so what you need to do is to adjust this so that it's difficult with one hand. You need to adjust this so that the blade is withdrawn. Now that will be more like it. Even that is 1/2 inch. But let's say that that's better than what we had now. It's going to slip down again. Alright, so I've adjusted it now so that with the blade up, it's only cutting, well, 1/4 inch. If you look at the tip of each tooth, it's cutting about 1/4 inch. So if you're cutting, there's no need to have that full blade dropping down and grinding away underneath whatever you're cutting. So you should really think about that. This gives you an angle so that you can actually cut at an angle and put a bevel on a piece of wood. Takes some skill to be able to do that. This is actually a very skillful instrument of torture, okay? And so you need to be able to work out how these things work. Now that gives you the angles that the blade is going to be when you undo this. At the moment it's flat, it goes in straight. This is a little thing for a guide that will allow you to cut a nice straight cut. Can't find that piece. It's been a long time since I've used this saw. So this is a lethal weapon for removing digits, and it will remove them with ease and with pleasure, I sometimes suspect. Okay, this was the other instrument that I wanted to show you. I did show this on another video, but we're looking there at the blades, and these blades, they spin on some of these tools. These blades, once again, let's find what goes into there. That's the end that goes in, and this is the bit that you need to see before you touch anything. But ideally it's better not just to get into the habit of not touching that. So this is the blade. Okay, they're tiny blades, and you can see there that there's 3 bolts, and those bolts hold that blade in. And then coming around again, here we are, another blade. So there's two blades going. Now, as I've said before, people get into a nasty habit of guiding this by putting their finger on the work. So they hold this, hold it with, obviously with the right hand, and then they put their finger down, and their finger forms the place where the tool is going to go. The only problem with that is that if you're listening to some music, or you're doing something which takes your full attention down to, say, 60%, it's very easy to lose a finger. Now, let me plug this in. Alright, so now we're plugged in, so it's the full lethal weapon. Actually, we're not plugged in, I've gone and plugged the wrong thing in. Now, that's a good example of what can happen. Now, it's not plugged in, but you don't use it straight away, but you think it's plugged in. But you think that this one is not plugged in because you've got two. You've only got one plugged in there. Now, if you were fiddling about with this and doing some adjustment, believing that it was not plugged in, but by accident, by oversight, it had been plugged in, as you can see, there's a real nasty accident waiting to happen. So you need to build up habits. You need to build up habits. It's not just about remember to do this, remember to do that. Remember that a habit is a programmed memory, one which you don't have to remember anymore. The body, the mind will automatically go to this, follow it down, and hey, wow, I didn't know that was plugged in. Oh my God. Now, if your other habit was still intact, you would be considering that this was moving. So there you are, one habit, second checking the other habit. And you really need to have these habits in place, because they will possibly save your life. I'm going to unplug that one and plug this one in. So there we are, now we know it's plugged in. Now, a lot of these tools will be revolving at something like 30,000 revs per minute. 30,000, if you imagine that in the space of a pop song, 2 minutes for listening to a pop song, that blade will have revolved 60,000 times. Now, not every one of these things revolves at that high speed, but they certainly revolve at 15 to 20,000 revs per minute. And so these things are absolutely lethal. Now look, you'll notice when I pick it up, my trigger finger is not on the trigger. It comes to the side. And my 3 fingers are below there. Do not make a habit of picking the thing up like that, because it will burst into life. Now watch the kick that this instrument, this tool, has when you switch on. Now I'm not doing that action. That instrument is going to help you, but it's not your friend. When you put it down, what is better it has a little thing here, look, so that you don't damage the blade. So when you put it down, the blade is not actually touching. I'll show it to you there. The blade is not touching. Now notice, I'm as good as my word. Where's my trigger finger? Okay? So, the other thing that you should remember about this, and you should remember that about both tools, and if you're lucky enough to have a router, especially with the router I suspect will be 30,000 revs. Now with a router, it's very easy, like this. Now you've got the thing going, now with a router it's very easy to get very lax in your habits. These tools should always be kept away from the body. Now what can happen is you can put the thing down. If you've got baggy shorts on, you can take it away from the work, and you can be waiting for that tool to slow down and stop. And while it's doing that, it's still spinning with force. And what will happen, especially with a router, is it will catch in your trousers. Now, it won't just tear them. What it does, it can't tear the material. So the material goes around the blade, the cutting tool, and it can't pull the trousers off your body, so it pulls itself into your trousers. And we all know what's inside your trousers, don't we? Yes, a leg. A leg which, if it goes into the wrong place, believe me, you could bleed before everybody could get to you, and you might not be able to get up. So I hope you don't think of all of this as very boring stuff, because it's not. It's really, really important. Okay, so I've talked enough about this now, so I will get on and I'll do my work. I'm here in my beautiful settings again. Look at that, how lucky can you be? There's a rural scene down there, look. They're doing laundry out at the faucet that's outside the house. And down there, everything is as it should be. And this is my workshop as such. And I suppose if I really wanted to, I could go in and have a swim in the pool. Well, maybe not. Over there is the unfinished house, work in progress of James and Jessica. And over there. All the birds are happy flying, and all is well in the world. Okay, here's to not losing any fingers. I'll be back. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.